talk session tonight. Tonight we are going to have our 128th session with different educators, and tonight we are going to have Head of English for Pre and Primary Schools at İzmir Özel Türk Koleji, Peter Daniels. We are going to start our live session when he comes here. Unfortunately, we are having a kind of technical problem here. We are going to try one more time. If we can't fix it, unfortunately, we are not going to have the session tonight. We are going to have it in a different day. Yes, I'm going to... We can have it this time. I'm really sorry about it. And I have no idea why it's not working. Okay, still waiting. I'm expecting Peter's invitation. One more time. Yeah, I have accepted it. Still waiting. I am expecting it. No, I'm trying to fix it, but I don't know. Yes, Peter, can you
Hi.
hear me? Hi. Oh my God, finally.
Hello. Can you hear
Hello.
me? Can you see me?
Yes, I can hear you. Yes, you are in.
Hi, welcome back. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. and I can see you. Can you hear me?
I
Hello?
can now, yes. Hello.
Hi. Now it's okay.
Hi.
Now I think
Yeah.
done.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
half an hour
yeah,
to get connected.
yeah. Finally. Anyway,
Yeah.
it's really it's really is we had a kind of a technical problems, but right now I think we can fix it, and if it's okay, we can start it. Is that all right for you?
Yeah, that's perfectly fine with me. So,
Okay, so it's
fine with
wonderful
you.
right now. I think we had a kind of because it's the first time happening. Anyways, and I'm really happy to see you here for the session finally after this the problems. Anyway, I would like to say thank you very much for accepting my invitation for teacher talks and also especially waiting for this moment to join the session. But finally, I think we fix it. Anyway, so I
Good.
don't want to waste time more, and I just wanted to start quickly. I know about you, Peter, but maybe our the followers would like to know about you. So can you tell us about yourself, please, and a bit about your experiences?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, um, what can I say? I mean, I was born in the UK, moved around quite a lot because my father, although he was a civilian, was connected to the military. So don't ask me where I'm from because I have no hometown. Where my parents live and have lived for the last 20 years, I never really lived there. Um, I moved to Turkey 18 years ago,
Wow.
um, and to start with, I ran a small web design company, and the idea was to kind of take it easy, live the easy life, spend a lot of time on the beach with the kids.
Uh-huh.
And we did that for a few years, but it doesn't pay the bills, really.
I see.
So we up that was down in Dalian in Muğla. So we came up to Izmir, and well, for the last 14 years, I've been in education, really. Um,
Wow.
Started at a school Tonguç out in Orla. I did a year there, and then 15 years I've been in education because now I've been at ITK for the last 14. Um, the last 5 years as the head of preschool and primary,
Uh-huh.
and a couple of years before that, I was, if you like, coordinator for what was it, second, third, and fourth grade, working under what is the legendary Mrs. Artana.
Uh-huh. I see. And now you are here. It's
And
wonderful.
now,
Thank you.
yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, Peter. And I want to ask you another question, like what was or were your turning point or points in your own education?
Um, I mean, that goes back to, as I said, my father was connected to the military, and we moved around a lot. I started at primary school in the UK. I went to Germany, and I went to a primary school called Düsseldorf First School.
Hmm.
It's a British school, but of course it was based there for the military. It was a it was a very nice school, and I then went to another school called Elton Middle School. And when we went back to England, I went to a school where, to be honest, I think everything about education just drained out of me. I wasn't
Uh-huh.
interested in my lessons. I never did my homework. I was purely interested with hanging around with my friends. And these were the beginning of secondary education. They were important years, but I lost interest. Um, my parents tried in vain to get me to do my homework, but I think my willpower was stronger than theirs. And yeah, the school didn't really care either. My
I
parents just
see.
said to me, they used to go to parent meetings, and the school, well, that's how he is. What can we do? And we then went to Germany for the second time, and I went to a school called Prince Rupert School for my it was for my last year of secondary education, the year that I should be taking GCSEs, and something happened in the school. The school cared about me, and we had weekly boarding school. So Monday morning I left home, said goodbye to mum and dad, and I come home Friday evening. I think that was nice for them as well. But we had someone in the boarding wing who came and talked to us. When he was on duty, he would come and chat about everything, not just our schooling, about our lives, about what we were doing. And we had homework time. And we ate dinner at 6 o'clock, I can't remember the times, and then between 7 and 8, you had to do your homework. And literally, they cleared the dinner things away, and we ate in the dining room, then we did our homework in the dining room. And all of a sudden, I had nowhere to go for an hour.
I see.
I could say to my parents when I was at home, "Oh, I'm going upstairs to do my homework." Turn on the computer, turn on the TV, and unless they came and checked on me, I got away with it. Sometimes I was busted, of course, but when you're in a hall with 60 other students and the masters or the teachers are walking around, you just have to do it.
Yeah.
And then I started studying, and I took a long route to get to university, but I got there.
You got it. I see.
It was someone actually caring about, someone from the school actually caring about what I was doing.
I see. It's really great that. And by the way, thank you very much for sharing that moment with us, Peter. Thank you. And would you like to add anything else, or can I move to another question?
No, you can move on.
All right then.
By all means.
So, you have been teaching for a long time, and probably you have tried different methodologies and strategies and some ideas in your teaching classes. So, and probably kind of a philosophy of teaching. So, what is it? What is your philosophy of teaching, Peter?
To be honest, the list of questions you sent me, that was the worst question for me on the list. Because I'm not saying that it is a good question, but it's a question that I used to ask when I was interviewing new teachers, but I stopped asking.
I see.
I realised I was just getting the same rehearsed responses all the time, and teachers are, I take a very student-centred approach. I make sure I have all my classes are differentiated. I take care of all the needs of my students. I'm always looking after both the kinesthetic, the audio learners, the visual learners, and it goes on. And everyone had pretty much the same teaching philosophy. And of course, yes, all these things matter. And I think my philosophy is that all of these points are valid at certain points in education. I can't say that every lesson I conduct is a student-centered lesson, because sometimes I need to be stood there as a teacher leading it and directing it. I can't say that every lesson is differentiated. But as the whole, I try to encompass, and I try to encourage our teachers to encompass as many methodologies as we can, as many theories as we can. We have to reach all the students in our class, and at the end of the day, that's the philosophy. Is that we just have to do to reach all of our students and make a difference to them, and educate them, and address all of their needs. But I wouldn't like to say I follow a particular set of methodologies, but it's rather encompasses all of them.
I see. I understand.
If that makes sense.
I see. I got it. Thank you very much, Peter, for sharing your philosophy of teaching. All right. Let me ask you something related. And you have been working in ITK for a long time. And as you all know that ITK is an English language education is really good, and we heard about it. So what makes different ITK's English language education than other schools?
I've had a lot of thought over that question, and it comes down to a number of different factors. One I believe is our golden rule, which is that our teachers never ever use Turkish with their students.
Mm-hmm.
Not just in the lesson, but in the dining hall, in the corridor. We always tell our teachers they should always speak English with their students, and that really makes sure the students have only one common language to use with our teachers, and it forces them to do so, and it pushes them to do so. It does, I'll admit, and it does put an additional workload on the teacher at times that we can't just go, oh, okay, and give them a detailed explanation in Turkish. That I think does go a long way in that we have to lead the student to be able to say it to us in English. Also, it means our chats with the students, like I've said about my education turn, because suddenly teachers were caring about me and my education. So when our teachers speak to their students about their education, that's in English. When they want to talk to them in the dinner hall about what they did at the weekend, they're not speaking to them in Turkish and saying, well, don't worry, we're talking English in the classroom, but we're talking between you and me now, so we can talk in Turkish. That doesn't happen. So that again helps the students make a lot more English practice. And I've seen that with our students spoken English. They're not afraid to speak English.
That's important point.
Another thing that I think helps a great deal is that we teach in context. We don't just drill vocabulary words to the students. And anyone who's had an interview with me in the last however many years will have heard this. Because we don't just teach pen. Okay, everyone repeat, pen, pen, pen. And then move on to, I haven't got one here, but eraser or pencil. And never give them a way of expressing something about a pen. So rather, yes, of course, we get them to repeat the word pen to make sure they're pronouncing it properly. But then we might ask, okay, what colour is this pen? Ah, it's a black pen. Okay, so let's say it's the black pen. And what do we do with the pen? We write with a pen. Okay, let's say I write with a pen. And actually, I just noticed the purple pen. So we're giving that language to use immediately, which I think also helps them a lot in that they're not just they're not learning words in isolation and grammar structures in isolation, but they're practicing them hand in hand.
I understand.
There are many other factors. We take a lot of time in choosing our materials to use in the class. Even then, when we chose what we think is the best book for a particular level, we don't just teach the book. We do other activities. We expand on the dialogues in the book. We have dialogues that we repeat often. That it's kind of everyday language for the students. We focus a lot on everyday language. When we're playing computer games like Bamboozle, Word War, and there's 10 boxes, we say to a student, pick a box. We don't just let them come up and press the smart board. We want them to say, oh, I choose number 10, please. And all these little things add up. And then I don't suggest that other schools don't do it, but I think one of the things we do is we do this systematically. Another thing is our teachers as well. We take pride in trying to select English teachers who have a very good grasp of the English language as well. So the ITK teachers can naturally converse with their students in English. We take a lot of time to check our plans, and we work together as a department, as a team.
Uh-huh.
I have to thank our teachers because they come together, they talk about what they're going to do. We as heads of department review their plans, and then they follow them through. So that, I think, kind of wraps up some of the reasons why.
Yeah, I see. Yeah, wonderful. A lot of reasons that you have there, that you have a really great, the English language teaching education at ITK. So you tell lots of reasons about it. Thank you, Peter. And by the way, I'm gonna ask you another question, something about English language and the teachers. Like, how do you, by the way, as a trainer or the head of the department, how do you support your teachers when they need your advice or suggestions? How do you do that? How do you show them the best way?
I mean, it's not always down to me to show them the best way. Sometimes the best way comes from other teachers, and I don't pretend to be the best teacher, and I don't pretend to be a better teacher than any of the teachers working in the department.
Mm-hmm.
I have learned so much from the teachers. When I go and observe lessons, I learn. I mean, I get. They will probably tell you sometimes like it's too much in our WhatsApp groups, but I can be observing a lesson and suddenly I see a teacher do something and I think, oh, we should be doing more of this. So halfway through the lesson, I'll be on the phone and I'm sending a group message to everyone to say, well, I've just seen something that I think we should all be doing, and I suggest you follow this. So I don't sit here and say I've got a great piece of advice for you, but I'll try and find the best answer for them. Sometimes that will mean like, well, okay, let's ask your colleagues. Sometimes I'll take it away, but what I try to do is to always be there to be asked the question. If I can be asked the question, then I can try and find the right answer for the teachers.
Mm-hmm. I got it. Thank you very much, Peter. And when you think about your training sessions or presentations or etc., what was or were the most interesting situation or situations that you faced?
I mean, in the classroom, there's always lots of interesting situations to face. I mean, the list goes on. I mean, we all have those students that we have to deal with that might not be the easiest students to deal with, but we have persistence is usually the key with that one, and asking for advice. There's other interesting situations that can occur. I mean, we're coming up to Dokazelu, and I was telling the teachers about one interesting situation last week. Was we just started a school year many years ago, and as you know, for Dokazelu, we're lucky that most years we have the Turkish aerobatic display team come. And as you know, they practice before the Dokazelu celebrations. And I'm in class, and we're up on the fourth or the fifth floor. We've got beautiful view of the bay, and all of a sudden, there's just as one of the Turkish stars goes screaming past the window, and 24 students jumped out of their seat, and the teacher. Well, the teacher wasn't in their seat, but the teacher and the students all jumped and rushed to the window, and you're torn between, well, this is something fantastic that's happening, and we've had this great view of the bay, and we could watch them, and it's one of those. I wasn't an English teacher at that moment, and it was just, okay, kids, we're going to watch this. because you know,
Nice.
there's no chance of you like, okay, let's settle down. Come on, we're on page 15. Let's get started. Let's complete exercise C while there are jets racing past you outside. So it was like, okay, let's take 10 minutes. Let's watch the jets, and you you can take that opportunity again to practice some more English with your students. Oh, and you can play dumb. Why are they here? What's going on? And try
Exactly.
to elicit. This is another thing we like to do. We do is celebrate all the important days. So Docker Zulu isn't one that we support because we teach, but we teach like 29th of October as a commemoration of Ataturk, etc. So they learn certain phrases through the year about these kind of celebrations. So again, you can start talking to them. Why are they here? Oh, what happened on the 9th of September? And you can turn it into a teaching moment.
I see.
Even though the book was forgotten that day. I mean, I was too engrossed in the jets myself, and so were the students.
Uh-huh. That's really nice. It's really nice and important moment that you mentioned. The using the time effectively, really good, and the moment. Thank you, Peter. So let me ask you another question. In your when you think about the ITK career, and probably you have a kind of, I don't know, maybe success stories you have there. So can you tell us one, or maybe if you would like to tell us about the success stories of yours, something inspirational? Do you have it?
I thought about this question, and I would love to have some big thing that I could say, wow, look, we did something wonderful. But it's all the little things that add up that I treat as success. Like I've done some things with students that were successful. Many years ago when I taught in middle school, I took a group of students to the Dove Fest out at College, and so the students came away with some awards, and that was wonderful, and everyone felt great. I've had a lot of pride in some of the open house days that we have when we invite the parents into the classes. And you see the looks on the parents' faces and they're impressed. Those are all good things, but I think the biggest success I had was just before school broke up. A group of 12th grade students came up to me. They had been my students when they were in first grade, and I had them first, second, third, fourth grade, and they just came up to thank me. And they remembered their lessons from primary school. They remembered enjoying it, and that just took everything away. I mean, that was my career success there. In just I think it was 4 or 5 students came up. I hadn't seen them for years. I mean, they went to middle school and they went through the system. I mean, I still saw them around the school, but I just like, oh, hi. I hadn't talked to them for about 8 years, and they were leaving, and they wanted to come up and say thank you, and that was the success. It's a bit corny, I know.
Yeah, exactly. That's really it's really a great moment probably for you to see them after a long time. They came to and to thank you about it.
Yeah,
it's really nice.
Yeah.
That's a great success. Okay, thank you, Peter.
I mean, I think that's what everyone wants to have.
I see. I got it. All right. So let me ask you another question. By the way, I have a question in my mind to ask you. If I'm not wrong, it's related something about the ITK ELT. It's really wonderful, by the way, wonderful organizations. Every year you are doing it for a long time. I think, I don't know, what was the last time?
Well, this was the last one we had was the 20th. I mean, I can't take the credit for the
20th. So
the credit always goes to Mrs. Artner, who started. Everything that I've been doing so far has been. This year was the first year that she wasn't an integral part of the organisation, but she was very much there in spirit.
I see. Yeah, she's really a great inspirational, the educator for most of us, if I'm not wrong.
Yeah.
Okay, if the last theme of the ITK ELT was the power of the stories. But my question is related with this. Like, do you really believe in the power of the stories on the students?
I do, but I mean the theme, the power of stories, came from the lady that's now taken over from Mrs. Arsener, Ms. Shula Yilmaz, who's our head of middle school and high school. It was her that noticed that, or mentioned that we're quite often ruining the stories that are in our books. Any of you that were there might have seen our kind of exaggerated sketch at the beginning. Okay, let's open to page 1. Now circle the adjectives, underline the verbs. No, you're not reading page 2 yet. And it was her inspiration that led to that. And I have to say she was a very great help in organising it. But after she mentioned it, I started. Yes, there are times when we do allow the students to enjoy the story, but there are too many times that we are not, as just our exaggerated sketch, obviously, but there are times when we are breaking the story up into parts that maybe it shouldn't be broken up in that way. Maybe we should let them enjoy it, then dive back into it and pick out the grammar. I mean, stories are a great teaching tool. There's loads of vocabulary, there's loads of grammar structures that can be covered, but students have to learn the story first, and they have to feel for the story.
Exactly.
Then you can go back in and dive into it. We bought new class libraries this year for our students. They have a range of books that they can just grab off the shelf and read. But if they first learn how to enjoy reading a story, then it becomes easier for them to follow their own stories and start making their own stories and seeing them as a story. I mean, we tried to cover both sides of it with the ELT. Is one, the power of learning from a story and enjoying a story, but also the power of every student has a story within them to tell. We have to give them the ability to tell that story.
I understand. So this is really important point that you mentioned about the stories are really important. Exactly. Yeah. Thank you, Peter. Thank you very much. So, let's move to another question. By the way, as you know that the latest developments and the trends in education is really growing fast. So sometimes we cannot catch up them. Sometimes we miss it, but we are really in a kind of struggling sometimes to see, to understand, or to catch up the new trends and the technology. So, but how do you do that? How do you stay updated with the latest developments and the trends in education?
As you say, it's always a struggle to keep up. But a teacher should always keep learning. A teacher should be a lifelong learner as well as an educator. Many different ways I try to keep up. One is obviously through our ELT itself, but also teachers that come in and teachers who are still within our or stay within our school. Different teachers do bring in different ideas, things they've seen, and I think it's important to recognise these things in the teachers and try to share them within the department or learn from the teachers. As I say, not just from lesson observations. Some teachers may have comments about something they've seen. So we try as much as we can to kind of share that. Since the pandemic, during the pandemic, we had webinars and we had webinar overload. The publishers were great. None of us knew how to teach online. We all of a sudden had to learn how to do it. We had no idea if the kids different needs during that time, or how to deliver a lesson over Zoom. But they put on so many webinars, and I have to admit, to a point, it got an overload. Each evening there was a new webinar, and at the beginning, I was joining the webinars, and I was sitting watching them, and I was doing nothing else but watching the webinar. I was focused on it. Then as time got on, and especially as the workload progressed through the pandemic, I'd open a webinar, and then because it's on the laptop, you then flick, oh, let me just start looking at a lesson plan. And you'd find the webinar was in the background, and I was checking the webinar. But I think I still do that to some degree. I'm still following webinars, but I'm not sitting watching them as a sole purpose, but I kind of have them on in the background, and then one ear on what the presenter is saying and one ear on what work I'm doing. And then when you hear something interesting, suddenly it's Alt-Tab across back to the webinar, take it in, you see whatever it is that you've seen. So I would encourage people to still follow some webinars, but not necessarily how we did at the beginning of the pandemic of all sitting there glued to the screen. Follow a few speakers that you like, and just have them on from time to time. Of course, there are blogs and pages such as yourself that are constantly sharing tips. I'm sure all teachers on their Instagram are following a number of different pages. So yeah, just keeping up to date like that. I'm looking forward to the return of the great conferences that we used to have. We'd have a lot of publishers putting on conferences around the city. I think the pandemic and the influx of webinars kind of put
exactly that. Yeah, definitely. Thank you very much, Peter, for the idea that how you follow it. All right. So as you know that the next week, I think the school starts totally, and I hope we are going to have a very it's great school year for all of us. I wish it's a great school year for all of us for the next year. And what I'm going to ask you about it, there are lots of new big teachers, and maybe the other teachers also, the experienced teachers and new teachers, whatever. And what do you suggest for them for the first week of the school?
I mean, it's quite simple. The first week is about getting to know your students and letting your students get to know you. Personalize the lesson. Give the students a glimpse of who you are, because my former boss, Mrs. Asner, used to say to me as well, and I believe this: the students have to like you and respect you in order to learn from you. And that starts. She used to tell me it starts in the first 15 seconds. The respect part is the first 15 seconds when you enter a classroom. If you enter the classroom with your head held high, with your teacher stance, and you go in with authority, but not in a negative way, but you're there and you say good morning to them in a nice way, you set the tone. You are the teacher. But you have to be friendly as well. You have to go, and it has to be a nice hello. And then you need to learn about your students. You need icebreaker activities to learn about them. But they also need to learn about you. And I always used to write my age on the board. And, well, the icebreaker. You write lots of numbers and figures and words, and they have to try and guess what it is about you. And I'd write my name, and they'd all go, hoo-ha. Now that I'm 50, that was even back when I was in my 30s and 40s. They would go hoo-ha at my age. Now that I'm 50, I don't write it on the board. But most of my teachers are a lot younger than me, so they can get away with it. But it doesn't have to be real information. If you don't want to tell them where you were born, you can tell them, but I mean, you have to be consistent. I'm not suggesting you lie. Somebody was telling me earlier today, they tell the students they have a cat. They don't have a cat, but their students they know their students love cats. So they have a picture of a cat, and the cat has a name, and that name doesn't change. They know what that cat's name is. I can't remember what it was now. But so they're not going to be caught in a lie. It's not going to be one day it's I don't know, Tiddles, and the next name is Kitty. The cat is called Kitty or something, and this is my cat. It's called Kitty. He's a lovely cat. Blah blah blah. But it gives the students something they can start to relate to you. Obviously, it is better. It's true, but not all of us want to share our lives. I can see one of my teachers, yes, talking about cats already with the love heart eyes down there. It's not just the students that are crazy about cats. It does seem that half of the teachers are as well. But yeah, that's what the first week is about to me. We don't touch the book in the first week. It's not about what language students learn. It's about getting to know each other. Whatever language they do learn in the first week is the bonus, and of course, we want them to learn something. We want them to go home and say they've learned something, but we also want them to go home and say that they love their new teacher. They had a wonderful lesson with their new teacher, and yeah, that's it.
I got it. Thank you very much, Peter, for your suggestions about the first week. Thank you. All right, so sometimes we have the moments that when we face some problems and we say that, oh, I wish I could have that power so I could do that, or I wish I could have this power so I could do this right now. We think about it. So, but when you think about the classrooms, if you could have one superpower to use in the classroom, what would it be and how would it help you?
Why pick one? I mean, there's a whole range of superpowers that I'd like to have. The ability to freeze time or even rewind time sometimes, or slow time down so you can get to the end of that activity. Eyes in the back of your head when you're writing on the board.
Hello? Maybe the battery of your headphone. Maybe you can turn off your headphones. Maybe.
Can you hear me at all?
Yeah, clear.
Yeah, I think my headphones power just went. Yeah, eyes in the back of your head would be a good one. Mind reading would be very nice.
Wonderful.
Like, you can see sometimes when they're starting to switch off. It would be nice to have that moment in reading their minds that, oh yes, now they're thinking about Roblox. Time to move on, and let's do some TPR for 5 minutes to wake them back up. Yeah, I mean, teachers need so many superpowers. Yeah,
to use it in the classroom. I see. Thank you. And would you like to add anything else, or that's all?
No, I mean, I used to say the one superpower I did have in my classrooms was being able to find books. That's one of the things I can always remember about it, the classroom. You go into a lesson, okay, we're using such and such book today. Oh, no, I don't have it. Okay, let's go and look in your cupboard. And all the time, under the desk, in the cupboard. That's one superpower students need, is the power to find their
find
books.
the book. Exactly.
So
same.
Thankfully, I had it.
Don't worry. It's that problem. I think is everywhere. I think it's every classroom. We have the same problem. Anyway, thank you very much. And Peter, let's think that we finished the interview, and you step outside the home and find a lottery ticket that ends up winning $10 million. Actually, it's not what would you do?
I think you're looking for an answer that I carry on teaching because I love my job so much. I'd love to give you that answer, but
I'm 50 years old now. My father retired when he was, I'm not sure the exact age, I'd say kind of late 50s, mid to late 50s. He had early retirement. I saw him do that. I'd love to have the same. I think I would probably take the money, and I don't think I would retire. I don't think I'm the kind of person who can just potter around a house all day, but I'd love to do something like write a book or something, but on my time.
Nice. See.
I probably, don't get me wrong, I like my job, I enjoy my job, but if I had the money, I think taking it easy would be the way to go.
I see. I got it. Okay, thank you very much. And here is the last question, Peter. Are you ready for it? Time flies.
Ready.
Okay. The last question is, what is your motto?
I don't think I have one. I'm sure if you turned it round and you asked the teachers that I work with if I have any catchphrases, I'm sure there's things that I say repeatedly. But I don't think I have a motto. I mean, I'm just trying to get the best out of our students. I'm trying to get through the school year like everyone else. I have I go in and out of obsessions at times, and I think we all do as teachers. We focus on something. So I think if you ask the teachers, if you asked them 2 years ago, they'd have said that I was always telling them to improve their error correction technique. Last year and even this year, I've been telling the teachers to focus more on hands-on games in the classroom. Technology has taken over. Bamboozle, Wordwall are wonderful. I love them, and I didn't tell you earlier in my Tell Me About Yourself bit, but my original degree was computer science, so I love technology. I was completely stumped by this one tonight, though, of what was causing Instagram's technological problem. And I love technology, but I think last year I realized from the pandemic we were using technology too much, and so I was saying we should be having more physical games and activities in our classroom, getting back to old school, using the whiteboard more on a board marker. So I don't think I have a motto. One of my old teachers said, treat others the way you would like to be treated. I'd like everyone to have that motto. But I think I do go through phases of trying to focus in on one area of our teaching that we can improve, rather than having a motto as such.
I see. I got it. Thank you. Thank you very much, Peter. And that's all my questions, Peter. Thank you very much, by the way. And before ending our live sessions, would you like to add anything else?
No, I think we covered everything. I mean, the only thing I was going to add, I kind of snuck in there at the end, with this wish that we as teachers take a step back sometimes from the technology. One of the things I missed out in my initial introduction was that I did a master's in digital libraries a few years ago, and my master's thesis was on the difference between reading on paper and reading digitally in both L1 and L2. And despite the fact that people are constantly telling us these kids are digital natives, the overwhelming result was the kids still preferred to read a book on paper.
Exactly.
And I think the same is true of playing games. Yes, they love technology. Sometimes, though, we are throwing it at them at a time when they don't necessarily need it. We all went on holiday in the summer, and I'm sure we saw parents and their kids around the pool, and I was seeing parents handing a phone to their kid to play the phone, and then why? There's a perfectly good pool to go and play and splash in.
Yeah, exactly.
I think we are sometimes thrusting that technology onto kids. I watched a great guy whose name I can't remember now give a presentation last year, and he said our Xbox was the streets. And we went and played, we rode on our bikes, and we went out in the morning and we came back when it was time for dinner, and our parents didn't know where we were. He was like, he wasn't suggesting we all send our kids out onto the streets because the world is a different place now. But he was suggesting that's where kids really want to be.
I see.
Because they're stuck in the house now because of the dangers of the modern world, technology is where they've gone to. And I would ask teachers to keep that in mind in the upcoming year, to give them more real games. Let them move around the classroom. If you're doing like and don't like, run from one side of the classroom for I like. Everyone repeat, I like burgers. Run to the other side. I don't like broccoli. Rather than having it a game.
I see. You're right. We really need them sometimes because, as you mentioned, the technology takes a lots of part in our lives, and sometimes we feel like we can't live without it, but actually we can if we try.
We can, yeah. And I think if you try it with them, they will enjoy it just as much as they do the technology, if not more.
I see. Thank you. Thank you very much, Peter. And
No,
I would like to say one more time.
Thank you for having
You're welcome. And I would like to say one more time, thank you very much for accepting my invitation and being with us here tonight. And thank you very much for your suggestions, for your advice. And the most important thing is, thank you very much for spending your time here, especially to try to fix the problem that we had, but finally we managed it. So I'm really happy that we fixed it. So
yeah,
Peter Daniels was with us tonight here at Teacher Talk session 128, and we had a very fruitful session with him. And we are going to be here next week on the same day at the same time. As you know that every Monday at 9 p.m. we are going to be here with different educators from different part of the world. So until the next time, take care of yourself and take care of yourself, Peter. And thank you very much one more time. And bye-bye, everybody. And peace.
Thank you. Thank you for the invitation. As I say, thank you to everyone that joined and listened to me drone on. Thank you so much.
Wonderful. You're welcome. Have a good night.
Have a great
Thank you. Bye-bye. Peace, everybody.
Okay. See you. Bye-bye.
See ya. Bye-bye.